Right. So I'm discussing about the proteins, major kind of proteins which you will see there. Motor protein in among them there is a kinesin and there is a dennin. Dennin. We will see later what kind of these proteins are. So up to now, you should know the major components or major proteins which are involved over there. Okay, the component major nucleus, and then there is the every cell has the structure maintained by the some cytoskeleton, maintained by the some cytoskeleton. So cytoskeleton component in the neuron we call them, yes, neurofibrils. We call it neurofibril. Neurofibril are majorly component constituents by neurofilaments, and we have two kind of major filaments, yes, microtubules and yes, microfilament, actin and myosin, tubulin proteins, actin proteins, isn't it? So majorly these component are associated with the cytoskeleton, and then there is the Nielsen's granules, majorly associated with protein synthesis. Even there is the mitochondrial also present over there because energy production, and of course there is a lysosomes and Golgi bodies and other organelles are also formed, but one organelle is absent in the neuron. Yes. Anyone? One organelle is absent. Why? Which organelle? What you think about it? Yes, yes. Because this is not self-replicating. So what should be the absent over there? Yes. Centrioles. Centrioles or centrosomes. You know, centriole is major function found in cell division. So once you are born with the billions of neurons, neurons can never regenerate. If okay, this is never produce again. If some of the neurons dies, they not reproduce, but they can be regenerate. There is a difference between reproduce or regenerate. Like if just suppose, meanwhile I am telling you this is axon. If this is axon and somehow there is a neural injury and this axon part damaged, so do you think it should be repaired? It should be repaired. Also it is known, we can say this regenerate. Okay, the most specific term we should consider about it, repair. Even though there is no reproduction and regeneration, but there is repairing of neuron. But this is the principle that if the cell body is intact, then there is the repairing, because the material coming from the repairing mechanism or repairing processes coming from cell body. If this is cell body is damaged, then there is no repairing. So this is major difference. So we have done with the cell body component. In cell body we have major component. The major unique thing is Nielsen's granules. We have major unique thing is Nielsen's granules, isn't it? And then the major one is neurofibrils, because among the normal cell there is cytoskeleton, microtubules, and even though microtubules, macrophilament, but there is the neurofilament and neurofibrils with the special differences about kinesin and dennin component. Then we will see about the processes. We have two kind of processes. One is, yes, dendrons, or also call it dendrites, and one is, yes, axon. One is dendron and one is axon. Yes. What is dendroid and what is axons in this diagram? Yes. Can you highlight it? What is dendron and what is the axon among these things? Yes. It could be the dendroid and it could also be the axon, and the same for this. So how you can differentiate it?
Direction.
What direction?
Depends on direction.
Which direction?
Nerve impulse.
Nerve impulse. Actually, this neuron taking the information, receiving the information from different neurons, or from direct receptors. Yes, tell me, one neuron taking or receiving the information from how many neurons? One neuron, if this is a neuron, this is one typical neuron. This neuron can take the information from receptors and neurons. One neuron takes the information from how many neurons and receptors? Yes, neurons. One neuron can take the information from more than 10,000 neurons. There is a very big social circuit in your body that one neuron talks with more than 10,000 neurons, and this also will talk with the adjacent neurons, and the nerve fiber goes on. One more thing you should know, in the starting we call it neuron as nerve fiber and nerve cells. Nerve fiber, you should know what is the term of the nerve fiber. Nerve fiber we call dendroids and axonal part of the neuron collectively, or we can say considered them as nerve fiber, and joining the neuron to neuron to neuron, making the nerve fibers, and then ultimately the nerve, only nerve. I will tell you about the difference of the nerve and nerve tract. Okay, neuron accepting the information from the receptor and different neurons. If this information goes towards the cell body, and other criteria is the information goes away from the cell body, isn't it? Towards the cell body and away from the cell body. So the processes that carry the information towards the cell body are known as, yes,
Towards the cell body.
yes, dendroids, and away from the cell body are known as axon. And if the green color is considered, then this one is dendroid. That this should not be the concept that the long one is always axons and the short one is always dendrons. In your body there is a little axons are also present and a very long dendrons are also present, isn't it? Now another terminology, axon hillock. Axon hillock. This is the portion from where the axon originate. This is the portion from where the axon originate. From where the axon originate? Yes, from this point. This is axon hillock. Axon hillock. Neurofibrils and Nissl granules are present in the cell body, cytoplasm, and somehow in the dendroids, but these are absent in axon hillock and of course in axon. Axon hillock is part of the, yes, cell body or the axon.
The starting part of axon.
Axon hillock, just tell me that's a part of the axon or cell body.
Both.
Is a part of cell body, not both. Actually, this is the part of the cell body from where the axon originate, and we call it axon hillock. So this is the which component? Cell body's component. Now, last but not least, the part of axon. This is the axon which carries the nerve impulse away from the cell body, and the cytoplasmic portion which is present in the axon is known as exoplasm, and the membrane is known as exolemma. Actually, lemma is also known as the membrane. Cell membrane is also known as plasma membrane and cell membrane. So this is a typical neuronal structure. So we can say, okay, there is now last portion, the terminal portion of the neuron. At the end, axon divides in multiple branches. Divide into the multiple branches and end at the terminal knobs, knob-like structures, and these knobs are known as synaptic knobs. In synaptic knobs, there is a vesicles present over there. There is vesicles, and these vesicles are known as synaptic vesicles, and synaptic vesicles carries what? Different chemicals, and they are called neurotransmitters. We will go detail about all of these components, but right now there is a structure of the neuron we should discuss. That the neuron has the different components, axon and the dendroids, synaptic knobs. So ultimately we can say there is a 4 component of the neuron: dendroids, axons, cell body, and the synaptic knobs. Have the synaptic knobs. So this is the structure of the neuron. Now we will discuss about the classification of the neurons.